Do you see? Do you see? One more time. There's a lot of that here. The only things I ever heard about Hawaii before I moved here, and this is even before I was super into understanding a lot of this stuff, is its relationship with human trafficking. I'm not going to go too into it because I got to live here, but there's a lot of symbolism in a lot of places. As I pregnantly hang on that scene, there's a lot of places that I think are used to facilitate that that industry. I've seen some things here, like I mentioned them before, but yeah, I'll mention them again. I get like a dozen views a video, so you probably never heard these stories. I've seen quite a few instances like the ones I'm going to describe, but I'm just going to go into the three that stick in my head the most. And I remember one day, and I didn't realize until later, or put together what it was until later, almost like a supernatural experience. In my experience, whenever I witness or are interfaced with something supernatural, I usually don't realize what it was until much later. Sometimes days, sometimes weeks, months in some cases. Like some things I think about, you know, it takes a while sometimes. But I saw this dude, I'd say he was in his early 20s. He was a younger guy, heavy set, pretty big dude. Not built, just fat, big, you know. And he was so destroyed that he couldn't walk. On either side of him, he had these two really good-looking women. I mean, not just pretty. Hawaii's just full of gorgeous girls here, but and I can say that because my wife doesn't watch my shit. But these girls look like sort of Instagram bikini model influencer kind of tier, dressed really nice, like designer everything, and not like a working girl, but kind of almost, but a little more just like rich tourists or something. Looked like they could have been models. He had one on either side of him, and they were like holding him up because he couldn't. I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, that guy's drunk. He looked like he was fucking dosed. He looked like they had roofied him. And I saw them walk by, and I was like, wow, that guy made out all right. And then I looked at the way he was walking, and he was almost falling. And something like made me think, I want to know what's going on there, you know? Got like a nosy old man. So I turned around, and I kept my distance, you know? I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but I could tell by the conversation, the way they were talking to him, which a lot of it was, whoa, blah, 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 big guy, blah, blah, this and that, holding him up and stuff. I got the idea that they weren't like, they weren't in the same party or the same group, but they didn't know each other. They were like strangers, you know? Or at least that's the idea, sorry. At least that's the idea I got, you know? And I'm like, well, what's that all about? And they were leading him in the direction of the area down there I just came from, which is always the direction these kind of things seem to be moving in. That way, down there, where I just was, you know? So, I don't know if I realized it at the time, or if it was something I put together in my head later, but they had roofied him and they were taking him. And I'm thinking that guy, right, at his size, all I could think about was the giant organs he must have. Because he wasn't just fat. He was fat, but he was like one of those big guys, like those like little giant type guys. And they were dragging him. I mean, they were barely holding him up. He's big, you know. And I'm like, they roofied that dude, and now they're guiding him somewhere. And you know, maybe they were just taking him to his hotel room to rob him or something, or I don't know. That could be what it was, but I don't think so. I don't know. You just get these feelings. You get these because it's a frequency thing. Again, you know something's up. And then another time, coming the same direction. Oh, where they had that guy was like right over there where I just walked through. Like on the last block, they were walking this way, kind of holding him up. So another weird thing was a nurse coming out of, or a person dressed like a nurse was walking what looked like a you know, mentally disabled sort of woman from the looks of her. But she didn't, I could tell by the way they were interacting. Is this quarter? Yeah. That they didn't know each other either. She was just, because a person that, if it was a loved one, right, they would, if it was a loved one, they would have handled them differently. They would have been walking with them differently, you know? I purposely didn't look where he was pointing. But the, you could tell they weren't together. She was being guided along. And what was the third one I was going to talk about? The retarded woman. What the fuck was the other one? No, it looks like I got hit by some of that memory juice. I did just wake up. So I think that when they refit the screen here, and they must have given me a bigger hit of memory juice. But I had 3 stories in mind, but I've seen a lot more like that. The Chinese are also very adept at the organ trade. They're big into it, and there's a lot of I mean, Chinatown alone, it's like mostly Chinese. There's a huge Chinese population here. Should I talk about the gambling? They run a lot of the gambling games here. They run these underground gambling things. The cops know, pretty sure. But yeah, so I mean, they're already into illegal kind of shit here. So the idea that they wouldn't lend their expertise or use their expertise in the organ trading field, the idea that they wouldn't is, you know, I think it's likely that they probably do. And I have a friend, this is one of those, I got a friend that has a friend, trust me, dude. No, he was an Uber driver, and he would pick people up at the airport. Like, usually he would say men by themselves, or men with their wives, or with the girl or girlfriend or whatever. He'd pick them up at the airport, and he'd drive them down to the docks, where they bring all the food and all the supplies in here from Matson, which is a company that supplies the island with all its stuff. And if a couple times during storms they stopped shipping, and when they stopped shipping, there were lines outside the stores, like this one over here on the corner of this ABC. The line was from the door all the way through the park here, just to buy like basic goods. The next day, after they had stopped shipping, and they had armed guards in front of the longs that I go into. So it's critical that we receive shipments from Matson. But anyway, right where they come in, I don't know exactly where, it's a big area, but there's like this kind of fenced off area where some ships come in. I had a friend go down there and do a little investigating. He ended up getting caught. Nothing came of it though. He's a good talker. He just acted like he didn't know what he was doing or where he was. But the guy would, getting the Uber guy, okay, would bring a guy or a couple there, and they would go off into this fenced-in area, and they would return with a young male or a young female, get back in the Uber, and then go right back to the airport. And he would do this several times a day, because that was just his route. He's an Uber guy that lived in the area. You know, I could go on all day with these kind of stories. And the reason I think it's so ubiquitous here. Oh, I didn't walk by the pedo building. There's a building down here. Oh, that was the whole point. I was going to tie it in. Well, not the whole point, but that would have been a nice extra. There's a building up the street here. A club that had been closed down for like, they're having a lot of problems there, violence. It used to be a cool sort of hangout. It was like Degenerate Corner. It was all strip clubs and video shops and these really seedy dive bars, and all like the prostitutes hung out there and the mahoos hung out there. It was kind of cool if like you're into that kind of stuff. I don't, you know, it's not my scene anymore. It used to be though. But it got real violent. They had a couple shootings there that I think were staged so that it would facilitate the sale to a hotel, which I think the Marriott ended up buying that corner. And they bought it years ago, and then they haven't developed anything with it. But over on the building now, there's a drawing. It's a sign. It's like a painted sign. I'll try to pull it up. I put it on one of my other videos in a thumbnail. One of them. I'll yank it up and put it up here. Of a child face, like a boy face, like what looks like a tear coming out of his eye. Now the place has been closed for years now, and they don't leave anything closed, you know, without being used for too long here, because the space is just way too valuable. Too much money involved. Unless they mean to keep it closed for whatever reason. Maybe it's a drop-off point. That neighborhood is an assembly area, because this place, like Waikiki, you know, you got what was the number? Every year, it's like 10 million people. I'll correct it in the when I edit this, but I think it's 10 million come through the neighborhood every year in tourism. That seems small to me. You said 100 million? No. It's starting to sound like the Nuremberg trials. There was a significant number anyway. So it's the perfect place to get people, but you can't really take them too far, you know. So they don't. There's spots in this neighborhood where they bring the people to, whether it's for sex slavery or organ, the organ trade. Now, John Podesta had a thing here that was referred to a couple times in the Clinton emails that came out years ago. I forget who it was. It might have been Hillary herself, was saying she was dreaming of John's hot dog stand in Hawaii, which was here on Oahu, Honolulu. Not sure where, but I'm pretty sure her campaign manager wasn't selling hot dogs out of a cart. You know, if you understand my meaning here. So it's all around me. It's everywhere. A neighbor of mine who knows a lot about this stuff had sent me some photographs of some stuff, some graffiti that people had written on different spots pertaining to it. Kind of schizo chicken scratch type stuff. But it seemed to be talking about how the trade is done here or used here, or just commenting on it. So it's a known thing among, certain people. It's one of those things though, like there's nothing you could possibly do about it. People always think like, oh, well, you build some kind of case and you tell the authorities are part of it. I'm not implicating any sort of police department or anything, but I mean authorities in the general sense. Any higher power you could appeal to are already in on it. It runs the world. It runs the world. The organ trade, child slavery, and those two things cross over, of course. Certain blood types are more popular than others, and the people are looked at, and you go to the doctor, your blood type's on record. It's a large ball of yarn to unravel, and there's really no point in trying to unravel it too much, because it's one of those things that you hate to say, oh, you just can't do anything about it, but this is one of those things you just can't do anything about. You just have to endure it and be aware of it, and try to keep your own loved ones from getting roped in. Even that's hard though, because you don't know. Like, I'm sure that guy, the big guy's parents or whoever, you don't expect him to go on vacation with his friends or something and get roofied by some models and carried off to a meat processing plant. You just don't. It's hard to guard against stuff like that. The best guard you have against it though is God. You need the protection of God. And if you allow yourself to understand what God really is, not some man in the sky, not some judgmental man with sandals. That's how they sell it to you, so that you'll reject it. And you'll think things like, well, who's he to judge me? Who's the ghost man in the sky to judge me? That's what religion does. Religion keeps people from finding God. Religion is a man that says, oh, you're interested in spirituality? Let me tell you about it. Let me get between you and God. No, God is inside all of us that have divinity and that are actual people. A couple caveats there. But it's in all of us. It's our collective consciousness. It's an extension of God itself. We are, I believe, the progeny of God, here to learn. And in that way, this is like a school or a training ground, which unfortunately has been hijacked by its keepers and turned against us. So while there is still some learning involved, it's more like just 24-hour torture for our God energy. That's like 10 different videos though, in a couple sentences. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.